It was almost really cool, but in the eternal words of the young Grinch, I hate Christmas! I hate it! Let's talk about it next on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Welcome to the DLLS Mavs post-game show live from the DLLS Sports Studio in an undisclosed location in Dallas. My name is Bobby Corella. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you and yours. We just witnessed what was a terrible afternoon, and then it ended up being really cool, and then it ended up being just close enough to make us feel really bad. We're going to break down the Mavs 105-99 loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves over the next hour. I'm not alone on this endeavor. Behind the computer with a microphone is Tanner.
Hello.
What's up, Tanner?
Hi, Tanner. That was almost a lot of fun at the end, but
it was fun. It was good. We also had Rangers producer Elijah in the studio with us for a bit, and then we traded him for Tim Cato. Tim, what's up?
I'm here. I walked over from the AAC. I'm gonna miss the post game. Glad to get Kevin back. Starting here in a couple days. That game was, I don't know. I mean, the takeaway was always going to be a little bit dour because Luka's clearly going to miss a few more games. I don't see any scenario with the way that he walked off the court that he's going to be, playing. Maybe not again this year. Which, fortunately, this is the one time you can say that, and it's not an utter catastrophe. but yeah, I always felt like Dallas was going to come back in that game. But it started too late, man. It started too late. Dallas was there. Minnesota was there to be had. They were.
Yep.
They were vulnerable. They were not scoring. The processes of their offense finally broke down like you thought they might. Like, this is what you expected from a team that was in disarray. The offense was not clicking. Dallas made it way too easy for them to start this game, and they didn't finally get serious. They didn't find a lineup that worked. The intensity, the effort, it was there, but it was not there collectively in a way that you could see it and feel it. And there towards the end of the fourth quarter, you could see it and feel it. And the American Airlines Center, they got loud. They got loud in a bunch of moments. Dallas was within a shot. They were that close, but it wasn't quite enough in the end.
I want to acknowledge Daniel's super chat. First off, Daniel, thank you for sending a super chat. It's the hand heart emoji. I think it's really important. Obviously, it's the holiday season. That game was a bummer. There's a lot of reasons to feel really sad, but through it all, we have each other. We have community. We got love. We got respect, and we got sports. So everything that we're going to vent about for the next hour, it all comes from a place of love, hanging out with you all. So thank you for joining us here on the DLS Mavs podcast. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. And shout out to Daniel for that super chat. Appreciate you, dude. I agree. That game reminded me a lot, and not only because of the way it ended, with a drive to the rim kind of putting it away that could have been prevented, but that game reminded me a lot of Game 4 against the Clippers in last year's first round. The Mavs fell down in that game by 31 I think it was in the first half. They end up coming back. The Mavs took the lead in that game. Kyrie hit this impossible layup to give them the lead. The Mavs never quite climbed the mountain tonight, but they were starting from 28 down in the third quarter. So you're down a lot very late in the game. You're down 22 going into the fourth. They scratch and fight and claw their way back in. They have a shot to take the lead with under a minute left. I thought it was kind of ill-advised. We'll talk about all that stuff here in a second, but it's just like you see them. It's like it's one of those things where, like, I want to praise them for their never quit, never give up, never surrender kind of attitude, because we have seen them pull off some, even relative to the ease at which 20-point leads disappear in this era of the NBA because of all the threes. We see them pull off some incredible comebacks routinely. But they fell behind by 28 and were getting just haymakers thrown their way throughout much of the first 2.75 quarters of this game. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, I don't know, it was awesome, but also what was going on? But they did turn it on, and I don't know. I just feel really conflicted about the whole thing. And obviously the big lead here, Luka exits the game in the second quarter with a left calf strain, did not return. Unclear the severity of it. Marc Stein will be joining us in about 20 or 30 minutes or something like that, and he'll have more information for us. But the win came out of their sails, and Minnesota was already playing great defensively, and then you lose Luka, it gets even worse. So they lost the thread for a little bit, but then they regained it. And they're gonna have to lean a lot. We'll talk about life without Luka here.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Kyrie's going to have to do what he did tonight a lot more often, which is just completely take over the game. And we've seen him do it. I believe he can, but it took a little bit too long tonight.
It also harkened back to Game 3 versus the Celtics in the finals, another failed comeback, but an impressive comeback. I guess what I'll say is I do think when you're playing against this team on this stage, it would have been really disappointing if the team didn't make it a game at some point, if the team didn't look like they belonged, if they just completely blew that game or threw aside that game and like any chance of even making it competitive. I think I would have been very disappointed in the team. And the loss is very disappointing, but if you just aren't competitive for 48 minutes against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who came in the state they did, that is the type of loss that you've got to start thinking about. It's almost changing your expectations or your overview, or like kind of what you think about the team. And so in that sense, I'm glad that they at least showed us that they're still the team that we thought they were, for whatever reason, that slow start, and we'll get all into it. But for whatever reason, they still looked like the team we thought they were throughout, the second two quarters and, but at the same time, you can be really competitive in a lot of games when you play PJ Washington for 41 minutes, when you play Kyrie Irving for 38 minutes.
Yeah.
And given the circumstances, given it was Christmas Day, given Luka went out, given that there was a legitimate chance for them to steal that game, I don't think it's wrong at all for them to go for it. For sure. But at the same time, you look at it, and tomorrow they travel. They got a back-to-back coming up. The games don't stop, and now you won't have Luka for it. So it really, if you're the Mavericks right now, it really stings you weren't able to pull that off. It really stings that this charge back into the game that gave them a sincere, legitimate chance at it just started a little bit too late. If it started halfway through the third quarter, we might be talking a very different, we might have a very different tone on this postgame. Just really, really frustrating, really, really upsetting that they could not just get this thing righted and started and headed in the right direction in time for them to pull it off.
Yeah, and there's a lot more to talk about with this game, and we're going to get all into it, but I do want to jump to the very end. There's under a minute left. Mavs come away with the ball, call timeout, which I thought was fine. When they called timeout, I turned to Tanner and I said, do you go for the 2-for-1, or do you just try and get a really good shot? I think there was like 48 seconds left or 46 seconds left whenever they assumed possession. And I said, I'm going for the 2-for-1. I don't care. I'm not taking a garbage shot. I'm going for the 2-for-1, though, because you're down 2. You want to maximize your chances of scoring. So I'm going to go for the 2-for-1. Mavs call timeout. Out of the timeout, Kyrie takes it and immediately takes like a 30-footer off the dribble. It was a cleanish look, but it was really early. I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about it, but did you like that shot?
I mean, I liked it because it was a shot that Kyrie chose, and he was the guy who led them back into it in that sense. But it wasn't Kyrie's 3-point shooting that led them back into it. He had a few. But what on the night? 5 of 14? Yeah, 5 of 14 on the night.
Yeah.
And I do think that, getting inside the arc, touching the paint, or trying to maybe then kick it out to a 3. And again, when you're going for a 2-for-1, you can control a pull-up 3. You know what time on the clock.
You can get that at any point, yeah.
Yeah, you know exactly when that shot's going to come. And so if Kyrie felt like he had the legs in him to take and make a shot like that, at some point, I do trust the player's, discretion when it comes to that. But I agree. It just, if you want a 2-for-1, no matter what, I kind of get where that shot's coming from. But I think I'd rather try for the 2-for-1 and try for a better shot, realizing that if you miss the 2-for-1, but you get a better shot out of it, you live with that.
Yeah, I just thought it was too early. It was a tough shot and it was too early. But it is what it is. If you would have made it, it would have been freaking awesome. Sorry, I keep messing with my forehead. A bug landed on it. I don't like bugs. And then on the ensuing
They don't like
defensive
you either.
possession, on the ensuing defensive possession, this was really interesting to me, and I was able to take some screenshots. So Tanner, let's go to it if we could. This is the Wolves' penultimate possession of the game. They're burning a little bit of time, and basically what they're setting up is a Nickeil Alexander-Walker pin down on Derek Lively to get Rudy Gobert a free screen on Ant. The Wolves are hoping that either Lively is pursuing Gobert because of the screen, or that they switch Irving onto Gobert and it gives Ant a driving lane. But as this play develops, watch Lively's attention. So we go to this next screen. Lively's now looking at Gobert, and Ant is reading this whole thing. Now, if Ant waits for the screen, he can go right to his dominant hand. But what if Ant just recognizes what's happening and says, hey, their shot blocker is now leaving the lane, not looking at me. Let's go to the next frame. He crosses over left. Lively still doesn't see what's going on. Kyrie now recognizes what's happening, but Ant is already turning the corner. Maxey doesn't have time to get over. Lively's completely out of the play, and so we go to the final screenshot here. And Kyrie is getting a really good contest on Ant. It could have been a foul call, but I mean, it's late in the game, so I'm glad they didn't call it a foul. Ant makes the tough shot off the glass, but Lively is your rim protector, but he's the furthest one away from the rim in this play because Ant really smartly recognized what was going on. And I thought that Dallas played a really good defensive game, but Minnesota's offense is just awful right now. They're one of the worst offenses in the NBA. They're fourth worst offensive rating in the NBA over the last month and a week-ish. It looked really hard for them to score, but that was just a really nice play by Ant. And also, I'm sure they talked about it in the huddle, like, hey, let's just keep an eye on Lively. If he comes up, then go.
Since Luke brought it up in the chat and wanted to just to real quick like focus on those timeouts. You said you're fine with them. So there was one at the 48-second mark.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Get a good shot.
I think it was fine, but I also understand the argument that they had all the momentum on their side.
Momentum's not real.
It is when you're flowing into an offense. Momentum isn't real in terms of you're likelier to make a shot, but when you're flowing, and then I think there's a chance that you just naturally get a good shot out of that you trust yourself to get a good shot out of that. I guess the argument is like, did they get a better shot out of the timeout? Did they get a better shot out of either timeout? If you trust yourself, and again, this is 100%, easier to say after the fact, looking backwards at what happened. This is, armchair GMing everything. I don't think I had an issue with the one at 18 seconds where Dallas was now down 4.
Yeah, you have to there.
There you had to. And they did not get a good look out of the side out of bounds. It ended up going to Clay in the corner, which I would rather it not instantly go to a three-point shooter. I'd rather it go to the top of the key, and then you pass to a three-pointer or you dribble into a three-pointer. You had enough time to do that. Don't pass to the corner. Because if you pass to the corner, you're stuck.
Yeah, I think the worst thing that happened about that is that Minnesota deflected it, so they already got to see the play. So the Mavs call a timeout to run a play, pass gets knocked out of bounds. They know what's happening. So Clay goes to the corner because on the previous play he was curling around, so they were overplaying that. So Clay tried to do the Vince Carter thing of I'm just going to sneak to the corner and see if I can catch you napping.
Right.
But they were on that too. So it's kind of you're in a desperate situation either way.
I see the argument. There was also, it was super...
Lively was also on the ground holding his knee whenever they called timeout with 40 seconds left. Like they kind of had to. Like they were playing 4-on-5.
Yeah. I hear you. I think that there's an argument that maybe they get a better look out of it, but I understand why Jason Kidd called both timeouts.
Yeah.
And the only second guessing I'm doing is looking back at it. They did really have momentum. I do, again, I agree with you. Momentum isn't real, but it is real when it terms of like you just have the confidence to go get a shot that you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought if the Mavs had momentum, then Kyrie's 3 would have gone in. But I don't know.
That was after the timeout.
That's right. Yeah, the timeout sucked the momentum.
Yeah, that exact shot would have gone in if they had called the timeout.
But I thought J-Kidd needs to call timeouts. I don't know. It's a timeout paradox. Okay, there's a whole lot more to talk about, but coming up next, we are going to talk about, unfortunately, Luka Dončić straining his left calf right after coming back from a left heel contusion. This dude just cannot catch a break, and now the Mavs are going to have to figure out what to do without him for the foreseeable future. So we'll get into that and more next on the DLLS Mavs postgame show.
Game time. You know it. You love it. Right now, Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means that when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And it's the perfect gift. I know it's Christmas Day. It's probably a little bit too late to be buying Christmas, but you never know. You never know. Maybe you're buying New Year's Eve gifts. Is that a thing that people do?
Probably
somewhere in some universe. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. It filters out the fluff, and it shows you only incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of eyeing a Jamie XX show here next month. Gonna hop on Game Time and see if I can snag a ticket for that. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
That was scary.
Sorry.
Didn't like that.
It was a loss on the court for the Mavs, but it was a win for your boy off it thanks to Sleeper. I correctly called Anthony Edwards getting more than 20.5 points. I correctly called Kyrie Irving scoring more than 21.5, Julius Randle making 1.5 threes, and Klay Thompson making more than 2.5 threes. My $5 play paid out $44.15, and it's all legal in Texas. It is not gambling. It is perfectly legal. With Sleeper, I was able to multiply my winnings to 8.83x. I can barely even count that high.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go. The Mavs should lose. Never mind. They shouldn't lose more often.
Beer's on you.
That's okay. Maybe I don't want to win on Sleeper all the time, but if you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. Doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Luka Dončić.
Well, real quick, Luke's argument. I'm gonna read Luke's comment.
Sure.
He says the Mavericks were in a flow. Wolves had a chance to reset their defense. He also spells it defense with a C.
That's right.
Damn Aussies.
No, I mean I can't argue with that.
Everything's upside down under there.
I can't argue with that, but I also think saying they're in a flow when their center is on the floor holding his knee, yelling and rolling around, I think you're not in a flow. You're just not.
And he did run back, but as soon as the timeout called, he goes back down to like hands on knees, and he's holding it. That was also it was a sloppy possession. There had been a sloppy possession just before that where the ball had ping-ponged around. So, they didn't get a good shot at it.
I mean, let's be real here. If the Mavs would have gone end to end and not scored, then everybody would have said, why the hell didn't J-Kid call a timeout?
Yeah.
Call a timeout! You gotta use your timeout! So it's all just like that was really loud. Sorry.
Anyway, let's talk about
it's all based on results, and it is what it is. I mean, they lost, and it sucks. Losing sucks. I hate losing, especially losing on Christmas. But what I hate even more is losing Luka Dončić. And the Mavs, unfortunately, have lost Luka for a lot of games already this season. He's missed 8 of their games during their now 18 last 18 games. They're 14-4 over their last 18. Luka's missed 8 of them, and he figures to miss a whole lot more of them because he leaves the game tonight in the second quarter with the left calf strain, did not return. There's a difference between a left heel contusion and a left calf strain. That was a non-contact injury. Luka looked very, very, very defeated as he was leaving the floor, which he did immediately. And Tim, I'm not going to lie, man, whenever I saw that happen, I was pretty worried.
Look, I've watched a lot of Luka Dončić games. A whole lot. I've seen him get injured a bunch of times. That was at least as emotional in a sense of frustration, anger, just can't believe this is happening. That's as much as I've seen from him on the court itself after an injury. And I truly mean that. It wasn't just, when he got injured, when he clearly knew he passed the ball away, couldn't make it back down the floor. Then was walking off, I wouldn't say limping, but certainly not walking with a lot of pace or speed. But as he's about to go into the tunnel, and it's, so he's off the court, but not quite totally off the entire floor. He kind of pauses and air punches or it's like this sign of frustration, this very visible sign of just like utter frustration that he's hurt. And what I'll say is his previous calf injury was it was called a contusion, and it was a contact injury. I think we know that, but even at the time, I remember we were talking: is it a strain? Is it a contusion? Is it it wouldn't surprise me if what he felt on the court, because he knew right away. And usually when you see a player know right away, like they don't even try to play through it, they don't try to run back, it's because they felt that before. So I'm not saying that his calf contusion was, this same injury happening again. I don't know the specifics, but the fact that his calf was affected and now his calf is affected again and he knew right away, he could feel that same thing. That is something that you see from players. Like, they know when they've redone an injury. That is something that instantly it's like, oh, there it is.
He suffered a lot of calf injuries.
He also has done that.
Yeah.
That's why he missed. That's why Jalen Brunson went off against Utah in 22 when the team went to the conference finals. I believe it was a calf injury then as well. Yep. So this is a familiar injury. This is something like he instantly recognized once again. And yeah, it's just like it did in the past. It's going to cost him games. It's going to cost him some days. I can't imagine any scenario where that's not the case. The question is how many. I want to think back to, in fact, when he did it in 22, and I want to say it was about 10 days, maybe 12.
Yeah, but I mean, they had the benefit of, having a lot of time off between the regular season and the start of their first round series against Utah because of the play-in and everything. So it was 4 or 5 days before they even knew what day they were going to play.
Yeah.
And then he missed the first 3 games and came back for the 4th game and didn't look that great in that first game back.
Yeah.
But that was considered really, really quick to come back.
Exactly.
Like initial fears whenever he got hurt in 22 was that he might miss the whole series. He might not play at all against Utah. Now this is different because it's the regular season. This is different because there's a lot of games coming up. The Mavs have 3 or 4 in the next 5-6 days, something like that. And given Luka's already missed some time during camp and preseason with the calf injury, he just missed time last week with a heel contusion. And I mean, you know what they say. Now, I'm not going to speculate on the cause for this injury or whatever, but he has a bruised left heel, is probably walking a little gently on that and maybe being a little careful with how he's moving. And if you're moving too carefully, you can overcompensate for that, and that puts yourself at risk for hurting other areas of your body. And he's already missed time, like we said, with the calf injury this year. And this game happened, 36 hours after their most recent game. And so there's just a lot of, it just sucks, man. It just sucks. But what happens next? Like, we don't know the severity. We don't know how much time he's going to be out or anything like that, but we can assume it's going to be for a little bit here.
Yeah, I think a safe working assumption, again, yes, we're speculating, but a safe working assumption, they did call it a calf sprain.
Strain.
But yes, strain, because a sprain would be to a ligament, not a muscle or a tendon or a joint.
I don't know. Just you were cooking.
Yeah. So it's going to mean more Spencer Dinwiddie. It's going to mean more Quentin Grimes, who my guess, and Quentin Grimes started the second half, my guess, although we'll see, maybe it's Najee Marshall, but my guess is that Quentin Grimes gets the initial starting nod with Spencer Dinwiddie coming off the bench, running the second units. It could flip around. It could be Najee Marshall. Najee Marshall has not been playing a lot, but Najee Marshall's best minutes have come this season when either Kyrie or Luka have been out.
Yes.
And so this is a good chance for Najee Marshall to get back in the flow. A player who was available today, Jaden Hardy. He's back from his ankle sprain. He is somebody who's going to get chances. He's going to have to get chances. The team needs another guard. They need another ball handler. They need somebody who can get 2 feet in the paint just by beating his man. And that is something Jaden Hardy can do at times. There's inconsistency and flaws to his game, stuff we've discussed a lot, but this is a necessary, you got to have depth. You've got to have players who can step in and fill those minutes. And this is an opportunity for them. It's a bummer that Dante Exum is not nearing a return. When he first got hurt, we were hoping that it would be, the very end of December, early January. Unfortunately, it does not look like he's, just like a week. He is not a week away from coming back by everything that we've seen. He's probably
not shooting. He's doing left-handed stuff.
Yeah. I don't think he's 2 weeks away from coming back. So that's a real bummer. But yeah, I guess we've seen this team be good offensively, be very good offensively in games that Luka has missed. They can survive his absence on the offensive end. The problem is just the load, the wear, the total amount of minutes. And so as long as Kyrie is able to play 37 minutes in a night like this, you can have a chance against a team like Minnesota. You can have a chance against a team better than Minnesota if you play better from the start.
And it's just a lot of work on,
But
a
it's
lot of stress on him. He's missed
a lot of work.
over the last 17 games coming into today. He'd only missed 2 of them. Luka had missed 8. So that's doing a lot of heavy lifting without him. And the Mavs' upcoming schedule, they're about to go on a 4-game road trip. Then they come home for 1 game. Then they go to Memphis. And then they come back home for a back-to-back. So it is like the next 2 weeks is pretty chaotic. What you said about Dinwiddie, I thought was initially going to be true. Like, I thought we were going to see a lot of Dinwiddie in this game in the second half. He was not good in the first half at all. He played 4 minutes in the second half tonight. He was 0 for 2.
0 of 7 overall.
Yeah, he's really, and he had some really big shooting games without Luka. I'm not trying to turn this into a dunk contest on Spencer Dinwiddie's head or anything, but one thing that he's really not been able to do much this season is get the ball in the paint. And we really saw that as soon as Luka went out, unless Kyrie was the one able to break his man down, Najee didn't play too much. Dinwiddie didn't play too much. They had nothing going toward the rim, like toward their bigs. There was no lob game tonight. Everything was very, very perimeter oriented. Now, Minnesota's defense is really good. Minnesota's defense is something fierce. They are really, really good on that end of the floor. And the Mavs' upcoming opponents are not. But you're going to be asking Kyrie to do a lot of heavy lifting for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, hopefully not any longer than that. And at his age, and at Clay's age, and at Dinwiddie's age, again, the whole point of this season was to win enough games to put yourself in position to host a first-round series and also to give Luka, Kyrie, and Clay some time to gear up for the playoffs. I don't want Kyrie having to be in playoff form in December just to keep this thing afloat. And I also am tired of Luka getting hurt every December. I'm tired of Luka missing so many. It sucks. It sucks, but it feels like it's this way every year.
Yeah. I don't have a solution for that. I don't have easy answers. I will say I completely agree with you on Spencer Dinwiddie. He's played 600 minutes. I was going to say small sample size. It is a smaller sample size, but 600 minutes is a decent amount. That's way more than we thought he'd have at this point of the year.
Yeah.
And this is the worst percentage he's had at the rim, within 3 feet of the rim, since his 17-18 season. Actually, it's worse than that, but that's the first time that he's been under, not in 65% at the rim. He's just 56% at the rim. He's also not getting there. And that's more what you were saying. Back at the peak of his career, he was taking, almost a third or at least a quarter of his shots he was taking within 3 feet of the rim. He is down to 10% of his shots coming there. So it's a combination. So the one time he got there tonight, the one time that I really recall, he flubbed a layup. I don't think he's usually going to do that, but it is just indicative that, he's having issues both getting there and finishing there. It does seem like he's really reliant on when he does get to, a foot in the paint, he's trying to throw that lob pass because he doesn't feel, great about where to go with it, how to finish, or it's turning into a turnaround fadeaway jumper. It's still good to get into the paint, and I still think that's a necessary part of the team's offense. And if he can do that and kick it out, that's how the offense is going to keep churning without him. But yeah, it may end up being the case that the team has to rely on a Jaden Hardy a little bit more. And you just got to hope that this is his moment, because Jaden Hardy's season has not been as good as any of us, certainly him, would have liked it thus far this season. There's going to be a lot of eyes on him, a lot of expectations on him here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and we've been told and we've been saying on this show that the Mavs are extremely deep, that this is maybe the deepest Mavs team in franchise history. I don't think anyone expected it to be put to the test so often, so early, but that will be the case again.
And the problem is depth doesn't matter. I'm actually not going to say that. I'm not saying what depth doesn't matter when the players are missing as Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah, I mean,
those are not replaceable players on the roster
but
now.
It's the unfortunate reality that the Mavs face.
Yeah.
And, again, Dinwiddie looking kind of poor tonight and the bigs struggling a little bit. Again, Minnesota, I know my guy Joey in the chat just disagrees with reality, but Minnesota has an elite defense. They've been the number 2 defense in the league for more than a month. They have a lot of length. They have a lot of rim protection.
The best defense last season.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why the Mavs offense would look horrible without Luka for long stretches of this game. And the Mavs defense was suffering, so they were never getting any transition looks or anything. But, The upcoming schedule is full of good teams. It's not full of teams that are better defensively than Minnesota, so hopefully they'll be able to figure it out. But we'll see. We shall see. All right, coming up next on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, Marc Stein is going to join us live from American Airlines Center. He'll hopefully have a little bit more insight on what's going on with Luka, how the team responded to this loss, what's next, and much, much more. So don't go anywhere. This is the DLS Mavs postgame show.
Empire? Yeah. With Empire today, you get shop at home's convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. We love Empire today. They did our flooring here. There's a good foot stomp on the Empire Today floor. We use them to get some floor here in the DLS studio. And what we love about them is they keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection. It can be frustrating shopping for floors at a big box store. You might be talking to someone who was working in plumbing yesterday, or working in lights, or working in sewage, or working in maybe they were a podcaster yesterday, and then they pivoted to working in floors. But with Empire Today, you know that they have always been selling floors, and they know their stuff. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
Well, it's pretty cloudy outside today, and there's a lot of doom and gloom in Mavs land. But as they said in that one play, the sun will come out tomorrow. And when the sun comes out, you're going to need some shades, some quality shades that are built to last from our friends at Shady Rays, where they have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. They've been rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. I don't even know 300,000 people, but I have a pair of Shady Rays, and I love them. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably even have a style in your favorite team's colors. Hopefully not the Mavs icon blue jerseys, because those jerseys are cursed. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, they have the best lost and broken, the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 sunglass-wearing people. All right, welcome back to the DLS Mavs postgame show. If you're enjoying yourself so far, our show, please leave a like. Please sub to the stream. Please like this video if you dislike the Minnesota Timberwolves. How about that? Every time you don't like the stream is one more like for Anthony Edwards. It's one more like for Julius Randle. It's one more like for Rudy Gobert, and we will not abide by that, all right? It's one more like for calf injuries. What else is it?
It's one more like for flooring done by hucksters.
Terrible. It's one more like for another Spencer Dinwiddie ill-advised pull-up 3 in transition that barely grazes the front of the rim.
Yeah,
Take better shots. Please.
That was not a good shot.
Is Stein on?
1 second.
Okay.
Can't set up.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say joining us now to talk me off the ledge, but even Stein isn't ready to talk me off the ledge. This is so difficult.
Right. He looks ready.
He looks ready. We're being told. There he is.
Hello, Marc Stein.
Oh my gosh, it's Marc Stein joining live from American Airlines Center. Marc, today sucked. How can I feel better?
I heard you saying you want me to talk you off the ledge. I don't know. I don't know how far on the ledge you are, but I'm guessing that I have very little to say that's going to cheer you up.
Oh, God.
Uh-oh.
I don't like that. I don't like that prelude.
Well, let's get it out now. The Bobby, he's not going to get further off that ledge.
I mean, I guess the fourth quarter comeback didn't lift your spirits at all.
No, the fourth quarter comeback was cool. The
Sorry.
fourth quarter comeback was cool. But obviously,
this is my sick game.
Yeah, Tim is going through it. Tim is going through it right now, and I'm emotional. Like it's bleak here in the DLLS studios. Marc, Tim left the game right after, so he wasn't around for any post-game media or anything. Do you have any sense of the team's reaction to Luka's injury? Any feel for what the expectation is and what the mood is in light of what happened today?
Yeah, it's way too soon to call it. But look, I mean, the way this week was unfolding, the Portland game on Monday, it wasn't, it wasn't a certainty that he was going to play in the game. And obviously, as he was making his way back, he obviously was hoping that that was the last of the setbacks and that he could continue on. And so to immediately in the game after Portland to deal with a calf strain, and we know the calf strain has been something he's been dealing with since literally day one of the season, when, the day before media day, takes a kick from a teammate in a pickup game, and, it's just kind of lingered, and he hasn't been, physically, I think you see he looks sharp and came back without a hitch in the Portland game. So for this kind of setback, I mean, there's, again, we don't know severity, but before today, he was already on a pace to play fewer than 60 games. You would have to imagine that they're going to have to take a cautious route with bringing him back from this one. Like, this ain't going to be a matter of days. I mean, you have to think it's most likely going to be weeks with an S, barring some diagnosis that just shocks and surprises everybody. But, again, it's premature to even talk about recovery windows until they can take a longer look at it. But I'm just approaching it with a common sense kind of approach here that, because there's been some sort of issue he's had to deal with almost nonstop since the season started, I would just have to imagine that it's going to be a cautious approach bringing him back.
Mark, I'm not going to lie, man. That is the most upsetting thing you've ever said to me. So thank you for that terrible news. Now, Tim and I just talked about how, the Mavs have won games without Luka this year. They made a comeback in this game. They almost won this game. They were 6-2 in the games that Luka missed during this last, 17-game stretch coming into this one. So there should be every reason to believe that they're going to be able to pull off some wins without him. But our mutual concern is not so much the wins and losses, but it's the toll it's going to take in the box score and the minutes played for guys like Kyrie, Clay, and some of the other veterans on this roster, Spencer Dinwiddie, that ideally are fresh for the playoffs, that aren't going to have to give you 38 or 40 minutes and 25 shot attempts in a December game against the Blazers just to win and keep your season, afloat. So, I mean, that's not a question, but I guess, I think they're going to be fine without him, but they could be paying the price for that later on in the year.
I guess I look at this completely differently. I'm not, if I'm the Mavericks, I'm not even thinking about what this means for the next 2 weeks, the next month, the next 6 weeks. Presumably at some point in that span, they're going to get Dante Exum back as well to soak up guard minutes. I mean, we know the backcourt is where this team is the deepest. At this point, to me, the only thing that matters is can they get Luka past this, and is he going to be fine for the bigger picture of the season? Again, even before today, he was on pace to play in less than the 65 games he would need for MVP consideration or all NBA consideration. That stuff doesn't even matter. I mean, he's already qualified for a supermax. I mean, I know it's sacrilege because in the regular season, we're contractually obligated to talk about the MVP award every single day from opening night. But frankly, who cares about MVP, all NBA, and all that stuff? At this point, for the Mavs, what matters is having Luka injury-free in the postseason. So, I mean, they need to give him as much time as he needs to get past this, get through this. And again, I just think they've got the backcourt depth to handle an injury that's measured in weeks. That's really the way I look at it.
And it's a little too early to talk about, okay, do they need to do anything to shore up the roster to withstand this? I mean, maybe Dante Exum comes back soon and looks good.
Thinking it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's, again, there's a difference between a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, yada, 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 and we'll know all of that. I mean, I'm sure that you're going to be the one to hear it first, over the next day or 2 or 3 as they continue to evaluate Luka's injury. But, I mean, they might have to do a little something. But, I mean, do you have any sense yet for when Dante Exum is coming back? I mean, you said that he's doing some left-handed stuff. Obviously, he's a right-handed player. which is pretty important. But I mean, is he going to be back anytime soon, or is he also a weeks guy?
Yeah, I mean, really, there haven't been any, firm updates on a recovery timetable for him beyond that he's making progress. So, I would just have to assume that, at some point in 2025, we're going to see him back. I mean, I think that question will probably be maybe now we will get a firmer timetable because the questions about Dante Exum's availability will be posed more frequently. It's not something that anybody was terribly worried about before today, again, because they're so deep in the backcourt. But yeah, I mean, I imagine that, the next time we speak to Jason Kidd, and it's not just after a roller coaster game like this where you not only lost Luka Dončić, but you had that fourth quarter comeback that almost came to fruition and then fizzled at the end. This was really not the forum for Dante Exum updates, but I have to think the next time we hear from Jason Kidd that a Dante Exum update will be one of the first things he's asked about because now they do need him. They do need him back sooner rather than later, as soon as the injury allows. But again, I do think if you're looking at the roster, they don't have an infinite amount of trade assets at this point. So I would have to think if you're going to, I don't think this game and even a Luka health setback is changing the calculus. A front court upgrade is still probably the roster priority if they're looking at moves like that.
Okay, so hear me out. Dante Exum has been practicing. He's been doing left-handed work for a while now. What if, okay, he can wear the brace during the game, but he just goes out there right now and only plays left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I'm with it.
Maybe that would help. I bet he could get 2 feet in the paint that way.
Probably
people off the dribble.
Could get 2 arms in the paint.
He's a pretty shifty guy. Yeah. Athletic. I'm just saying there's a chance. And then, if he's awesome, then he joins Marc Stein's famous list of favorite left-handed basketball players.
Is this the year?
No, it's not, because if there's going to be a righty who makes that list, I think it's going to be Kyrie Irving. Because long before he went on the late heater to try to haul the Mavs out of this ridiculous 28-point deficit. I mean, do you see in the first half, he threw in 2 lefty runners that were just ridiculously high degree of difficulty for a right-handed player that he just makes look so laughably easy.
I mean, maybe that's Dante Exum now. We don't know. He's spent a lot of time.
I do not think there is a right-handed player in the NBA who's more likely to end up on the all-lefty team than Kyrie Irving.
Okay, that's fair.
The left hand is looking good lately, I gotta say.
It is looking. It always looks very good, but yeah, some of those shots he was hitting. Honestly, we did not say this enough in our first 2 segments. What a night from Kyrie Irving. What a player. Once again, just stepping up when needed. Honestly, he's been in by the lofty standards of a season thus far, he's been in a little bit of a shooting slump. And not even a slump, but just like it's been falling a little bit from where, his percentage has been evening out a little bit, especially behind the 3-point arc. And then Luka goes out, and what does Kyrie do? It reminded me a lot of the Atlanta game where he took it upon himself to go out and bring Dallas back into this game to set them up to win it. It is a bummer that, for him, for the performance he was having, that he did not hit that final shot that would have given Dallas the lead, but sensational player, just incredible, and another magical night from him in every standard, minus that last shot, which obviously you cannot hold, against him.
Yeah, I think some people will take issue with the shot there, but I mean, he was so ridiculously good that, I don't think the Mavs are ever going to switch that green light off. I mean, he has the license to shoot it from anywhere at any time. And really the only thing that he had 3 kind of home run type three balls in the fourth quarter that none of them went down that, if he just makes one of those, it might be different. But again, you're you're holding him to a ridiculous, an unfair standard to expect. I mean, they're not all going in. And I think he's kind of earned the license to decide when is the time for me to hoist. So if you want to nitpick there, criticize the shot selection there, you certainly can, and some certainly will. But, I mean, they're not even back in this thing without the fourth quarter, really the whole second half display we saw from Kyrie Irving. And look, I mean, they had Minnesota scrambling. I mean, Minnesota had a 28-point lead, and they were hanging on for dear life at the end.
Yeah, no, they were.
Mark, thank you for joining us on this dreary, news-filled day. But, hey, the Mavs will do it again. So we'll see you again, on Friday?
Friday night, I'll be in studio. By Friday night, I will find a way to lift your spirits, Bobby. I'm sorry I could not tonight.
It's all right. We're going to get through this together. You and me and Tim and Tanner and KG will be back too, and it's all going to be good.
How many how many people are with us this afternoon?
Yeah, I promise you don't want to know. Everything is fine. You're just going to have to take my word for it. Everything is fine.
I knew
it's
that
good.
was coming.
We're going to be fine. Tanner is a legend.
A lot of spam stuff in there today.
Yeah,
so.
it's
all taken care of by the great Tanner.
Yeah.
I wish everybody a good Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy holidays. I will see you guys on Friday night.
Appreciate you, Mark. See you then. There he goes. That is NBA insider Marc Stein. You can sub to his Substack, man. He's breaking news all the time. Marc Stein is the best opposite online anytime you please.
What else should we subscribe to, though?
You should subscribe to this channel. You should subscribe to Tanner because he is the moral compass in these unprecedented times. If you're enjoying the pod so far, please leave a like on this video. Sub to the channel, leave a 5-star review, whatever, Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, we are gonna just vamp. We're gonna let it all out, vent sesh over what we saw, some good, some bad, some ugly, and a whole lot more on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. But first, let me tell you about what we're doing here at DLLS Sports. We got live pre- and post-game coverage for every single game. Mavs, Stars won at least the other night. That's cool. The Cowboys, their season's almost over, mercifully. The Rangers, they just made some big moves. Hey, the Dallas Wings have the #1 pick in the WNBA draft. We'll have coverage of them as soon as their season starts up in the springtime. All that stuff is going to be free 5 days a week right here on YouTube. So, again, if you're enjoying yourself, please leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Be active in the chat, more active than everyone else that's coming in here from outside, but is helping us defeat the algorithms. So thanks to you, losers. Also, we got some stuff. That QR code over there. Oh, sorry, I wasn't pointing at the locker. I was pointing at the QR code. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you to alldlls.com/diehard. If you click the link in the description, it'll take you to the same place where you can become a diehard for less than $7 a month. You get access to our entire website, all the premium written content, post-game analysis, features, opinions, breaking news, insight and analysis from the top beat writers in the whole stinking universe, covering all the Dallas sports teams in town. Well,
I'll take it, though.
Some of the best in the whole stinking universe. You also get to join the DLLS Discord server. You also get a free shirt when you sign up and a discount on any other merch you want to buy, including shirts, hoodies, mugs, cups, flags, and soon hats. Marc Stein. You also get a physical diehard card in the mail. Kevin Gray is all too excited to tell you about that. And Kevin, by the way, will be back on what day is it?
Wednesday, on Friday.
On Friday. I saw some concerned chatters asking where KG is. He's on a boat. He's on a boat. He posted a picture from the sea today, so he's having a great time. Shout out to Spencer, to Andrew, to Cade, to Dwayne, to Colton, to Kevin, to Matt, to Chad. They all became diehards over the last day or two. So shout out to all of you, and hope you feel compelled to join them and support what we do here at DLLS Sports. All right, it's the final segment of the show. We are hanging out. We're having a good time. There's 150 people still watching us, spending Christmas afternoon, Christmas evening with us here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. There were some other things we were going to talk about, and I don't remember what they are at this point because I didn't write them down.
Yeah, so I'm looking through the box score, trying to see what else we should touch on that came from that. PJ ended up with 40 minutes. Wasn't a big scoring game from him, but thought he was typically, had a lot of glue effect, like glue stuff. Not his best game, but still a good game for him. I thought Derek Lively was quiet up until that run, but then he was very good. He was one of 3 players with a positive plus minus in this game. Let's see. Klay Thompson is now the top 5 in made threes all time. Congrats to him.
Yeah, that was cool.
Najee didn't play much. Gafford, even though we talked about him on the pregame show, really quiet night from him. Not too great. We talked about Spencer. We talked about Quentin Grimes a little bit, or at least that he's going to get a bigger role. So I guess what we got to talk about is Maxey. And maybe it's both Maxey and the fact that after a first half where I thought the defense, and into the third quarter, I thought the defense was really poor.
Oh, they were bad, dude.
They were really bad
bad.
Really,
today.
like, shamefully bad. When you go up against a team that is not just one of the league's worst offenses, but has been, this is a team that we said a few nights ago, they scored 15 points in 18 minutes in a game, like a week ago.
Yeah, 19 in the first quarter in their last game too.
Yeah, I thought that was really disappointing, but there was something with the BJ Washington, Maxey Kleber, and Derek Lively the second, that trio, in the front court. They were very good, and I suspect we'll see, especially because if you downshift PJ to the 3, but that allows you to have a really good offense or a really good defense. There's only 2 guard spots you got to fill.
Yeah, and I mean,
right now they're kind of started.
Minnesota, this goes back to before the season when Minnesota makes this trade for Randall. I did not think that made them better. I thought it made them worse, but I thought it made them better against the Mavs. Randall is one of the very few power forwards in the NBA that is stronger than PJ, but that also has the handles to where you can't crowd him or back too far off because he can shoot and he can dribble and he can kind of pass a little bit. So it's a real mismatch issue for PJ, and there's just not a lot of guys that have that type of advantage over him. And so Dallas does have to sometimes play a little bigger. So that does mean putting Maxey at the 4 and PJ at the 3, which gave them, like you said, a really, really good kind of defensive personnel, because not only is that more size for Randall, and I thought Maxey held his own there, but also more size, more length, more arms as Ant turns the corner and gets into the lane. And that was forcing him to make some more difficult passes to shooters. There were some wayward possessions as a result of all of that. It gave them a lot more size for switching, and they didn't have to give up anything on Gobert. I mean, they were switching Klay off onto Gobert, and it was fine. But where that affects you is offensively. Maxey hit 2 threes in the second half. He had hit 3 threes all season before tonight.
He technically hit 1. The other one was a
it went
2.
in. All right.
Okay, so what's funny is
but here's the thing. Yeah. Maxey made some 2 shots, but PJ I thought had a really, really bad game. PJ had a really bad shooting game, and it's one of those things where when you're in a hole that deep, everyone has to play perfectly for you to get out of it, and they just weren't perfect enough.
Yeah. So I will say, I swear I have a memory of Maxey missing a 3, but that I remember thinking, oh, at least he took it. But did he also have a foot on the line? Because the box score has him 2 of 3 shooting, 1 of 1 on threes. So did he shoot 2 threes with a foot on the line? I think he must have. Either that or the 3 got rolled out at the last second or something like that. But it must have been 2. Anyway, the 1 3 he was officially credited with taking. Like, he took that thing. It could not have been a pure swish. It was a perfect shot. Like, his jump shot is not broken, apparently. It's just he's just hesitant to shoot it right now. That was even with somebody running at him. He wasn't even wide open. So that was good to see. I suspect we're going to keep seeing a good bit of him. Like I said, you don't trust your guards, or maybe not don't trust, but if you are having guard depth issues, or if you only got to play 2 of them in a lineup of 3 bigs, then that kind of helps you out on that end. I thought that a lot of the defensive problems in the first half were so Dallas. Sometimes it was against weaker defenders. Sometimes they got the switches and then ran pick and rolls. Sometimes it was a primary, it was a PJ on an Ant, and they brought Gobert up, and because it's Gobert, they're going to kind of trap double. It's not a hard trap because Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford, they're trying to get back to Gobert. They're just trying to get the ball out of Ant's hand first, or whoever the ball handler is. But I thought the rotations were not very crisp from there.
No.
And so the one thing,
and a lot of that was PJ too. PJ had a really bad game, and he's been so good this year, but he was spaced out a lot. He was spacing out a lot.
Yeah. So the one thing that stands out to me is so PJ that is his biggest defensive weakness.
Yep.
He is prone to doing that a little bit. I do think So I think everybody, all the role players in Dallas, they're all fine defenders, for the most part. Not counting PJ or the centers in this or Lively in this, but Grimes is a fine defender. Najee he's fine. I think that there's room for him to pick it up a little bit in that aspect. But what these guys don't do is they don't cover ground like some of the best wing defenders in the NBA. And when Dallas's defense will always be a rotation heavy scheme. It has to be, because you are playing Luka, Kyrie, and now Klay Thompson. It will be rotation heavy. At time, you will have to help, and you will have to help high. You will have to help at the point of the pick. You will have entire games. You will have many possessions throughout a quarter where that is unavoidable. If you're Boston, you can just switch everything, and then you can help inside the paint. When you're Dallas, sometimes you don't have that flexibility. Sometimes you are going to want to switch, help high, and then have everybody run around and recover. And, just to kind of extend the conversation we were having 2 nights ago, is that I do wonder, I do see that being an area where a big wing can help. Because, yes, they're going to get switched off, but they can go fly. They can go make that X out rotation. They can go get to the corner in a way that Quentin Grimes is not going to get to the corner. Najee Marshall is not going to get to the corner. And they can get there, and you can trust them that when they're arriving in a position where they can test and slide and, get back on defense. And so it's just, as I keep watching this defense and really trying to examine what they're missing, what's their ceiling, what would their ceiling be with another big wing, that was just something that stood out to me in the first quarter.
I agree. I think that basketball is like process and results. The results were Minnesota made 14 of their first 25 threes, and you're probably going to lose if team shoots that well. But the process was also bad.
Right.
There were a lot of mistakes in this game. It was really sloppy, which is a shame because it was a big game, and it's against a team that you definitely want to beat. And, the Mavs were healthy relatively until Luka goes out. But Luka goes out, and Luka's not your best defender. So ideally the defense would be even better. But that just wasn't the case. And, there's some, they were deflated and everything was going wrong, and it kind of sucked. It was a Murphy's Law game. But, the process wasn't that great, and the Mavs have had some of those. Portland shot great, Golden State shot great, Minnesota shot great. You're going to lose a lot of those games. The Mavs won 2 of them miraculously, but I don't want to see it happen very often. I don't want to make a habit of it.
Luke says like a Tybal type player, kind of, but I'm not
Tybal's
sure.
Like 6'4". They need bigger. They need 6'7", 6'8", 6'9".
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you need a bigger player. I think you need, a rangier player.
Yeah.
Is what you're really looking for.
In closing, I just want to say, hey, there are still more than 100 people hanging out with us here on Christmas Day. Hope you had a fantastic day. I know the game kind of stunk, and Luka getting hurt stinks, and the Mavs making a comeback was great, but they come up short and it stinks. And then you come in here, and we're trying to build a good community, and there's obviously a lot of trolls and a lot of losers that have a lot of really disgusting things to say. They're miserable people, and we are going to always ban them. We want our chat, whether it's free here on YouTube or our Discord server or our social media channels or anywhere, we want them to be a wholesome place, a safe place for everybody to come talk sports. Losses happen and they suck, and we all have bad times, but we're always going to ban people that say some of the things that people are saying in the chat today. So thank you for sticking out with us. Tanner, thank you for being quick with it on the mouse.
More of a reason to be a podcast listener as well.
Yeah.
But not really. We love our YouTube chatters.
No.
Watchers,
yeah. And, Tanner.
But also, podcast.
Taner set up a mic and he wanted to talk and hang out with us, but
I haven't got to do anything. Really.
I know, it was quick with the mouse. So, thank you for being good with it today, Tanner. And hey, if you're a loser troll, go somewhere else. You're not going to be welcome here. And if you try it, then we'll show you. Because again, we're building a good community. That's what we're doing here at DLLS Sports. So thank you very much for hanging out with us. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Christmas holiday. whether you're with your family, your loved ones, or by yourself, whatever it is. Hope you continue to have a great and safe day. We will be back with you on Friday for pregame. It's going to be a late one. The Mavs are going to Phoenix to take on the dreaded, hated Phoenix Suns. We will be here for pregame and postgame. Kevin Gray will be here too. Marc Stein will be in studio. Me and Tim will be here if we're not sick. Tanner will be here if he's not sick. Everyone will be here if they're not sick. Hope you are able and willing to join us. Until then, again, be safe, be good, and that's it. For Tim, for Tanner, for Stein.
Merry Christmas.
I'm
Happy
Bobby.
holidays.
Yep.
We'll see you.
We'll see y'all later. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.